Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Eclectic Movie Reviews. It's Josie, and today I am going to be discussing my first time, some of my favorite first time watches of summer 2025. Um, I, I'm only going to talk about 5 films this time. I didn't have the energy to discuss 10. As always, I will talk about them in alphabetical order, and let's just get right to it. The first film we're going to discuss is The 10th Victim from 1965, directed by Elio Petri. This science fiction satire is set in a post World War III landscape. In replacement of war, there is a TV program called The Big Hunt that showcases organized murder. This game entails 10 rounds, 5 for those who kill and 5 for those who get killed. Similar to the Hunger Games, the last individual standing is rewarded with enough game retirement wealth. Huntress named Caroline Meredith, played by Ursula Andress, intends on killing her 10th victim so that she can put the whole hunting thing to rest and live securely. Her assigned prey is Marcello Poletti, played by Marcello Mastroianni, and things get complicated when the two fall in love. It's colorfully campy, yet still resonant, still resonant in modern times. It is not only a takedown of war and violence, but there's also a sharp critique of capitalism, corporate greed, and consumerism. There's a heavy emphasis on sponsorships being the backbone of functionality that's depended upon, which is very relevant to today's media, especially with many YouTubers and influencers relying on sponsorship money. Somebody wrote on Letterboxd. Oh, let me get back. Mastroianni and Andress have really comical chemistry, and what's great about this movie is that it's short, sweet, to the point. It's only an hour and a half. Somebody wrote on Letterboxd, Barbie and Ken's origin story. Another person wrote, Hunger Games, but make it Austin Powers. It's so interesting how this movie and Seventh Victim by Robert Sheckley, the short story was based on, was written long before reality television became popular. It was ahead of its time. I love the costuming and production design. It gives a pulpy comic book feel to it. There's a mix of retro futuristic 60s pop art and Greek and Roman architecture. As far as the Greco-Roman architecture goes, I wonder if the people behind the scenes wanted to allude to the gladiator fights from back then, because it's killing for sport. In the case with the latter, it's always funny watching older movies that are set in the future and seeing these filmmakers and craftspeople's ideas of what the future will look like. And film is also, as I said, that although The 10th Victim covers dark territory, the comical tone, the romance, and the campy yet slickly witty satirical dialogue is what makes this much lighter of a film than what you would expect. There's a great Kino Blu-ray of this that I rented earlier this summer. And I think it's available to watch on Plex, which I've never actually used, but I know you can watch things for free on there. But haven't used it. So yeah, that's The 10th Victim. It's great. Check it out. Next up is I'm going to talk about a Vietnamese film called The Little Girl of Hanoi from 1974, directed by Hai Minh. If I'm doing any mispronunciation, I apologize. So the narrative follows a young girl trying to find her PAVN father after her mother and sister died during the Christmas bombings. She is aided by another soldier on her journey, and this is one of the most beautiful war movies I have ever seen. By having the Vietnamese perspective of the war, we see the characters not as weapons against the United States, but rather human beings whose livelihoods are are threatened. The most beautiful thing about this film is the depiction of resilience. This little has so much endurance. She never gives up on hope. And the man and woman helping her are doing everything that they can. This movie is a historical document that should be taught in schools. I watched The Little Girl of Hanoi on the Criterion Channel, but you can also watch it on YouTube. And then next up is The Paper from 1994, directed by Ron Howard, who is topical right now given his episode on the studio, and he had a new movie that came out recently called Eden, which I have not seen yet. I know his recent track record has not been the most acclaimed, but I'm oddly kind of interested in watching Eden for some reason. Anyway, but neither here nor there. We're here to talk about The Paper. So this ensemble dramedy follows the team behind a tabloid newspaper in New York City over the course of the day. I believe it's called like The Sun or something like that. Hardworking Henry Hackett, played by Michael Keaton, is the editor. Of course, as one could imagine, he's under a lot of stress. His boss, Alicia Clark, played by Glenn Close, is cheap to say the least. Henry's wife, played by Marissa Tomei, also writes for The Sun, but she's on maternity leave as she's pregnant. She wants Henry to get a better position in his field with greater respect. Another outlet called The Sentinel offers him a position that has less hours but higher pay. However, it doesn't perk his fancy so much. Henry is concerned that down the road, if he doesn't balance work and family in a healthy, harmonious way, that he could be in the same position as his editor-in-chief Bernie, played by Robert Duvall, who now has prostate cancer. A local event catches Henry's attention. 2 Caucasian businessmen are killed, and 2 teenagers of color are arrested for this crime they did not commit. Henry races against time to get more info for his article so the article can be published before Alicia stops the presses from rolling for a day. However, being on budget, it's more of a priority for Alicia than telling the truth. It's a thought-provoking journalism satire with points about media that are resonant today. Think about sources that are more concerned with clicks than truth. Beyond that, what makes this movie great is that the characters are so interesting. Really superb writing from David Koepp, and I believe his brother helped co-write it. And yeah, the cast is fantastic. Michael Keaton, Marissa Tomei, Randy Quaid, Glenn Close, Robert Duvall, Jason Robards, Spalding Gray, Jason Alexander, Catherine O'Hara, Lynn Thinkpen, and Jeffrey Owens. Next up, we've got Pedicab Driver from 1989, directed by Sammo Hung. I talked about another Sammo Hung movie on this channel before, Dragons Forever. So this story follows 2 pedicab drivers in Macau named Lo Tung and Malted Candy, played by Sammo Hung and Max Mock. Lo Tung, which is Sammo Hung's character, meets and falls in love with a woman named Ping, who is a baker. Malted Candy, Max Mock's character, starts a relationship with a woman he does not yet know is a sex worker. Both of these ladies are employed under exploitative circumstances, and in order to get closer to these women, these men try to liberate them from their work superiors. The first half plays out like a raunchy action comedy with a trademark broad Sammo Hung humor. The second part, however, gets darker as they really try to confront their bosses and have to really learn like the hard way, like the woman's side of the story. While there are some sexual jokes that may not land for contemporary audiences, it simultaneously is a commentary on workplace sexism that, in a way, is progressive for its time. And Dragons Forever sort of touches upon that, but this a little more blatantly. Now, I really dug this. I love this movie. It's probably my favorite Sammo Hung film that I've seen so far. Um, I watched this on the Criterion Channel. I'm not so sure about its physical media availability, but I hope it gets some form of special release because it really deserves it. Oh man, I guarantee you there'll probably be some big Sammo Hung comedy box set one day. But we'll see down the line. I can see this being a good this could be a good Criterion release. I could see like Indicator or Imprint or some or Arrow pointing this out. It's someone's got to put it out. And last but not least, I'm going to go with a cute little French silent comedy from 1928 called Two Timid Souls, directed by Rene Clair. When the movie starts, we meet a timid lawyer named Fremison who is serving Garaudot's case. These obviously the names of characters. He is justifiably charged for Garaudot is justifiably charged for abusing his wife. In fact, Fremison, his own lawyer, even says that it's only fair for him to go to prison for multiple months. Cut to a few years later, Fremison and a woman named Cecile have fallen in love. And then Garaudot tries to wreak vengeance upon Fremison for sending him to prison with a series of slapstick hijinks. It's a really sweet movie with great physical comedy akin to the Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd comedies. Yeah, that's really all I can say, but it's such a delight. Really, if you want a nice, short and sweet, if you have the Criterion, it's so far, it's all the only availability I know of it is the Criterion Channel, but if you have the Criterion Channel, definitely give it a watch if you want a nice, delightful movie that'll put a smile on your face. Now, I hope somebody puts this out on physical. Like maybe like a Rene Clair silent film set somebody's got to put out. That would be a great thing. I can see Criterion doing that down the line. Um, I really can. But since they've put out quite a few of Rene Clair's other movies, so yeah, those are um those are five for titles that I watched over the summer that I want to highlight. And now let's get into my awards. Uh, for my first time watches. Some of these titles are for films that I did not mention in this video for the sake of timing and energy. But here I go. For stunt choreography, Pedicab Driver from 1989. Obviously. For editing, Death Trap from 1982. For sound, The Little Girl of Hanoi from 1974. For score, Basil Palladores for he's a composer for Flesh and Blood from Paul Verhoeven's film Flesh and Blood from 1985. A really wild erotic medieval fantasy movie, not fantasy, medieval movie that I highly recommend you watch it. That's currently on Tubi. Whoa, what a crazy movie. For costuming, also I'm giving it to Flesh and Blood from 85. For production design, The 10th Victim from 1965. For black and white cinematography, The Little Girl of Hanoi from 74. For color cinematography, The 10th Victim. For supporting actress, all right, this is a cheat. I'm giving it to the two ladies who were in Pedicab Driver, Nina Lee Chi and Fenny Yuen, if I'm pronouncing their names correctly. They were the love interests in Pedicab Driver. Both give really surprisingly emotional performances that really help ground the film. For supporting actor, I'm doing it. I'm giving it to Christopher Reeve for Death Trap. he his it's interesting how that, he was known like Obviously, he was Superman, but the movies he did outside of Superman, never at the time, did not like catch the attention of people of a larger audience. I guess it was, I don't know, I guess maybe it was like the topics or projects she chose. I don't know, but they were. But I think he's this and Somewhere in Time are genuinely great movies. And what's interesting is his character in Death Trap is obviously much different than Superman. He kind of plays kind of an entitled writer, and then it's kind of like almost Looney Tunes hijinks in Death Trap. That's a really fun movie directed by Sidney Lumet. I highly recommend. Uh, and For adapted screenplay, I'm giving it to The 10th Victim. For original screenplay, David and Stephen Kep for The Paper. For lead actor, Howard Vernon for Jean-Pierre Melville's Silence of the Sea from 1949. For lead actress, Egyptian star Hind Rostam, Cairo Station, 1958. For acting ensemble, Kevin Smith's Dogma from 1999. For director, Elio Petri for The 10th Victim. And you guessed it, I'm giving Best Picture to The 10th Victim. So that's it. That's my reflection of of what I watched summer 2025. I'll be back with more movie related video reviews and stuff. Thank you for watching. I hope everybody had a fantastic summer. I certainly did. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.